Parliament is now in session.
Announcements by Her Honor the Speaker.
We would like to acknowledge the presence of those in our gallery. We would like to express thanks to the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment. We would like to acknowledge officers, youth development officers, and also we would like to invite and thank those who would have been welcomed, those from the Ministry of Agriculture. We would also like to thank specially invited guests as well as the judges.
Messages from Her Excellency the President, petitions, papers, government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first reading of bills, statement by ministers, congratulatory and obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for a leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day, government business.
Government business, order of the day.
Order number 1, in the name of the Honorable Leader of Government Business, to move the passing of the resolution that the Barbados National Youth Parliament urges A, the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security, in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, including local farmers association, agricultural experts, relevant state educators, health professions, and the private sector, develop and implement a comprehensive national food security strategy that addresses the identified challenges and advances sustainable resilient food systems. B, the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security to also consider the following recommendations for the National Food Security Strategy. A, increase investment in sustainable agricultural development to increase domestic production and reduce reliance on imports. We must invest in climate resilient farming, technology, agriculture, organic farming, which could create environmental conservation. B, harness agricultural innovation, promote greenhouse farming and digital platforms, mobile apps, online marketplaces that connect farmers directly with consumers and retailers, increasing year-round supply and reducing waste. C, strengthen policies and government reform. Strengthening food security in Barbados demands a cohesive, cross-sectional strategy that actively integrates policies and fosters collaboration across ministries responsible for agriculture, health, trade, environment, education, and social welfare. This integrated approach is vital for building resilient and sustainable food systems tailored to Barbados's unique context. D, enhance food supply chains, upgrade storage facilities, and transport to cut food waste after harvest and keep supplies steady. Promote teamwork between farmers, processors, and shops to build a reliable food network. E, strengthen ongoing regional and international cooperation, reinforce collaboration with CARICOM to enhance food security through initiatives like the 25 by 2025 plan, and strategically engage with global trade agreements to support local producers. F, safeguarding agricultural land and promoting local consumption. Create a blueprint to protect farmland from urban tourism sprawl and streamline access to the idle plots for food production.
Honorable member from the government side, Leader of Government Business, Janae Herbert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we need health to procure wealth, wealth to secure health, and food to facilitate both. this government understands that food underpins our society and supports the architecture of our economy. And most importantly, we recognize that food security is a matter of life and death. So we present to you a resolution that clearly outlines our strategy, positions us for success, and is rooted in sustainability. Madam Speaker, with the FAO noting that over 800 million hungry and malnourished people exist worldwide, food security is neither one man nor one country's battle. Therefore, unity must permeate our strategy. In September of 2007, 2 Caribbean countries collaborated to create an airline which would belong to the people of those countries. That same year was an exceedingly successful year for tourism of both countries, with one of the countries generating a record $1.9 billion in revenue, according to its local information service. Madam Speaker, different problem, same principle. Bearing our economic and geopolitical positioning in mind, will we persist in struggling but surviving alone, or will we strategize to succeed together? The choice is ours, and this government has chosen to, and I quote, strengthen ongoing regional and international cooperation, Section E of the resolution. Further, our policies must propel our purposes, not prohibit them. And for this purpose, integration is as important intersectionally as it is internationally. Madam Speaker, I hear wedding bells for sustainability and the economy, for education and health and nutrition, and for food security and this nation. 3 weddings located in Section C of the resolution, 3 weddings for which the common officiant is agriculture. In 2023, the central bank reported that meats, cereals, and fruits and vegetables were the top 3 largest and growing categories of the food import bill, comprising 23%, 18%, and 15%, that's 56% total. A study by the Forage Preservation Unit of the FAO highlighted that warmer climates, such as that found in the Caribbean, are not ideal for the harvesting of cereals, as it tends to compromise the crop maturation stages. What this means, Madam Speaker, is that our approach to lowering the imports of cereals in particular must not only include subsistence farming of these grains, but much rather substitution. The founder and secretary-treasurer of the Trees That Feed Foundation discussed this at length in the Caribbean Economic Forum hosted by the Central Bank in 2023, and particularly as it relates to the cultivation of breadfruit. The foundation also published statistics stating that just 1 cup of breadfruit contained 29% of the daily recommended carbohydrate intake, 16% of the recommended fiber, along with other important macronutrients, minerals, and vitamins, such as magnesium, iron, and vitamin C. So although limited in that we may not be able to cultivate every crop, our unique climate positions us such that we may locally acquire nutritious foods that we can secure for ourselves, sustainably produce, and sell to the rest of the world. All that is required is investment, and the kind of investment indicated in sections B and D of the resolution. Now, I will elaborate on those 2 sections, Madam Speaker, but first allow me to say a few words as it pertains to Section F, which talks to the safeguarding of agricultural land and promoting of local consumption. Madam Speaker, if our climate is our unique trait, then our land must be our ultimate treasure. It suffices to say that. Returning to point D, Food security does not and need not end at raw produce. Therefore, it is crucial that we enhance local supply chains, food supply chains. It may be well known by now that agriculture accounted for 194 million Barbados dollars of our real gross domestic product in 2024, but we often neglect the significance of the manufacturing of food and beverages, which represented a combined 207.9 million Barbados dollars of real GDP that same year. And this is all according to the Central Bank Review on Barbados's economic performance. Further, agriculture itself does not and need not end at raw produce. And what better testament to that than our fishing industry? Madam Speaker, I was scrolling on social media just yesterday, and I came across a British influencer who was trying restaurants on the South Coast, and she said, and I quote, "One thing the South Coast and the West Coast have in common is that they've spoiled fish for me, because I will never be able to eat it anywhere else after how good it is in Barbados." And I thought to myself, Madam Speaker, wow, what a beautiful marriage of food and tourism. When I drive through Oistins and I see the lines of locals and tourists lined off in front of the Oistins bars and grills, I think to myself, wow, what a beautiful marriage of agriculture and enterprise. And I'm thinking out loud now, Madam Speaker, wow, what a sacred sector of our economy that we ought to fiscally support and physically protect. Our unique climate traits expose us to unique climate vulnerability, especially as it relates to heat and natural disasters. Just last year, we faced a 22.4% reduction in the production of milk due to rising temperatures. Thankfully, the fishing industry still saw a 15% increase due to strong catches in the initial part of the year before the Hurricane Beryl disruption. But Madam Speaker, can you imagine what we could have done if we had the requisite climate resilient infrastructure? This once again highlights the necessity of the investment outlined in Section A and the protective policies outlined.
Honourable Member, you have 2 minutes remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm wrapping up. And the protective policies outlined in Section C of the resolution, especially as it relates to unfortunate realities such as predial larceny. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, as leader of government business, I formally request, but for the sake of the people of Barbados, I beg for the members of this House to vote in favor of this resolution, because as I said in the beginning, food security is a matter of life and death. Madam Speaker, I'm very much obliged.
I now acknowledge the opposition leader, Terence Richards.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, Madam Speaker, before this debate, I promised some honourable members of the government side I would be nice and the opposition would be not as confrontational, seeing as this is a topic close to my heart and a very heavy topic, especially considering the state of not only Barbados at the moment, but also the world. Now, food security matters for a plethora of reasons, but I would say the most important reason as to why food security needs to be talked about at the moment is not due to simply global warming, not as a singular topic, not simply due to things of availability, not simply due to issues of preference. It is an issue of longevity. It is an issue of the future and how can we secure food for our future people. Now, I would say, Madam Speaker, that the resolution does a really good job of talking about the now and talking about the investments of the future. which I would congratulate this government on writing a half-decent resolution for once. But I would like to draw attention to that economic aspect of it. It is not so simple as to say we will do investments and all will work out in the future. If it were that simple, then we wouldn't be here in the first place. This issue would have been solved ages ago. Now, it takes a smart brain, it takes a very strategic and thoughtful government to make the correct and key investments for us to actually see results in the future. Now, do I trust this government with that job? I cannot say, but I will say the resolution is a good start towards that economic problem. Moving away from economics, I think the climate issue is a major issue, but I would say we need to look at why the climate is an issue in the first place. We do know that global warming is caused by many reasons, from pollution. It could be simply the amount of cars we use. It could be the big plants that we have here in Barbados. It's not really a Barbadian issue, is it, global warming? It's not something Barbados could help stop. So aiming to be resilient against global warming instead of looking at things such as, let's say, a greener environment, maybe looking into electric cars or moving away from fossil fuels, all those things may not benefit Barbados in the same sense as moving more towards, as the resolution might suggest, just climate resilient farming. So again, I would congratulate the resolution on that point. Moving away from climate, I would like to mention that though the leader of government business did not directly misquote the resolution, she did slightly, the honorable member did slightly misquote the resolution. In section E, it states very specifically, reinforce collaboration with CARICOM to enhance food security through initiatives like the 25 by 2025 plan. I would have hoped that there would have been a bit more clarity in the fact that the 25 by 2025 plan is not referred to as such anymore, not to my knowledge. I believe now it is the 25 by 2026 plan, and 2025 has been abandoned, but that is to my knowledge. Now, I don't fault the leader of government business for missing out on this fact. It's quite common for the government side to miss out on these sorts of facts in writing these resolutions, so it's not something unexpected from this side, I promise. But I would hope that with an issue as heavy as food security, that those sorts of small mistakes do not cause larger problems in the future. Now, something that is close to my heart, very dear to my heart because of my own preferences, is how we define food security. In the resolution, it states, food security is defined by the 1996 World Food Summit as a state where all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. What I specifically want to talk about is food preferences. We're not simply talking about meeting needs anymore. We're talking about meeting preferences as well. I myself have a food preference. I would love to be a vegan. I'm an aspiring vegan. It's not very financially viable for me at the moment, but I'll get there in the future probably. But veganism is dear to my heart because I am an animal lover. I have pets of all sorts. I've had probably any pet you could think of. But it's not something I find to be very viable in an island like Barbados. I do not expect a small island developing state to be able to cater to all of these esoteric needs that their people might have. But I do expect that if we're making plans for the future, that if we speak on preferences, not just food needs, but food preferences, that these sorts of food preferences, when we speak about ethical veganism and those who do not want to consume animal products, I would hope that would be something considered by the government in the future, but I will let it slide that nothing of the sort is mentioned in this resolution today. Now, to talk a bit more about what might be missing from the resolution, I think culture is a huge part to do with food security. Now, what I mean by culture is when we talk about growing your own food, growing your own crops, that is not as simple as planting a couple seeds in the garden and then you have tomatoes growing by next week. There are a lot of intricate details. Any farmer could tell you, farming is not very easy at all. Any farmer could tell you. Even an old grandma with her garden in the front, you have no idea the amount of work that goes into creating something even so trivial as a little garden with a couple potted plants out front. Why culture is so important when we talk about food security is because of the difficulty of farming and agriculture in general, that we need to educate people from not old, but young on the actual facilities, the procedures, and whatnot they need to know to grow their own foods if they so desire. The way we could do this is through schools. There are lots of schools in Barbados that don't have agriculture programs. There are lots of schools in Barbados that don't have present organizations that teach about agriculture, or there are some students that have never been in an agriculture class in their entire life. I have some honorable members who will speak later that will expand on that more, but that is damning to me, Madam Speaker. If we're speaking about food security for the future, then one of the things we need to be speaking about is educating our youth. But as you will find, Madam Speaker, there is not one mention of youth on this resolution anywhere. Now, again, Madam Speaker, I said I would like to be nice to the government this time, but they make it too easy for me, because that is embarrassing. How can we speak about the youth? How can we speak about the future of Barbados, the future of our people, and not mention the youth? It's quite ridiculous, is it not? Now, the last thing I will mention, Madam Speaker.
Yes, honorable member, you have only 2 minutes remaining.
Thank you, I'm wrapping up now. The next thing I would like to mention, Madam Speaker, is I think there is a trend that we see here when it comes to the economics of the situation. We would have seen this in a previous debate that was held in this honorable house on healthcare reform, where we spoke about the importing issue that Barbados has. It seems like we are so dependent on global supply chains and markets that some might say, very correctly, that we're losing some sense of national sovereignty and that autonomy as a nation because of how dependent we are on foreign nations. I would have commented on that when we had our healthcare reform debate. I would have spoken about the fact that we import many basic medical supplies and whatnot. And it is sad to say, but a true reality, that that same theme holds true in this debate today. Barbados does import a staggering amount of its food products, and while it is not something easy to get rid of, I do like that the government is looking at ways to get rid of this dependency on imports and bring back some sort of sovereignty to our nation. So I will congratulate the government for that, if nothing else. And with that, Madam Speaker, I'm obliged.
I now acknowledge the Prime Minister, Kashawn Waldron.
Thank you for recognizing me, Madam Speaker. Food is essential for life, or to put it in better words, as was mentioned by the leader of government business, food security is a matter of life or death. There is no human being that can exist without food for a long period of time. And in a similar context, there is no nation in this world that can thrive without a booming agriculture sector. But according to the Barbados Statistical Service, the agriculture sector in Barbados only contributes roughly 2% towards the gross domestic product. And that is an extremely low figure for something that is so significant in terms of improving the livelihood of a nation. Now, as I stand here and speak today, before I get into further facts that I have, it is important to understand that the 20 by 25 plan does in fact still exist. There has only been an update to the general timeline because they weren't able to meet the 2025 initiative, so now it has been extended into 2026. So the name of the title is still the same, but the timeline has been adjusted slightly. And today, as I stand before you, Barbados is in a very vulnerable position. But with the resolution we present today, it has the ability to make us great. I want us for a second to imagine Barbados as a physical body. That in turn makes the agriculture sector the food source that is consumed by the physical body. And then we have our farmers, the hands that work day in, day out in the hot sun in order to create and cultivate that food source for the body. But the problem with that analogy is that Barbados becomes an amputee. Our farmers are being cut off, Madam Speaker. Up to earlier this month, we heard an incident reported by a farmer, the loss of thousands of dollars worth of crops. And that wasn't a standalone incident because it has been occurring throughout the year. It got so bad last year, a farmer had to take the situation into his own hands, and it resulted in the deaths of 2 alleged thieves. That is why in the resolution within one of the whereas clauses, we mention the importance of food security governance, because it don't matter how much food we grow, if people coming out and thieving it, there's no food to eat. And I want you to listen to me closely if you have not been listening now. Pre-deal larceny isn't really theft, you know. Pre-deal larceny is treason. For every pound of produce stolen, a child goes hungry. For every pound of produce stolen, a family fails to make ends meet. For every pound of produce stolen, it is the betrayal of a country and should be treated as such. Right. Now, there already are acts in place to combat this. We have the Protection of Agricultural Products Act, which was introduced in 2022, moving the penalties of pre-deal larceny from $5,000 up to $100,000 or 5 years in jail. So there isn't necessarily the need for new legislation, but what we want to see as young people is to see these laws enforced on the culprits. Not just on the persons who are stealing the crops, but also on the individuals who knowingly purchase stolen crops to be resold to the general public. And in addition to that, before it even gets to the courts, it is important that a system is reestablished, that there is some type of joint patrol throughout the fields to protect the people's crops. But of equal importance, or maybe even greater, is that we must stop condemning our agricultural spaces under concrete. The Food and Agriculture Organization, which is a specialized agency under the United Nations, reported that Barbados imports up to 80% of the food that is consumed each year. As we try to reduce the import bill, the only way we could do that is if we preserve the agricultural spaces. It's very straightforward. And that is why we mention the importance of point F within the resolution. We have to safeguard the agriculture land. We talk about specifically introducing a blueprint which protects the farmland from urban or tourism sprawl. And there's currently already legislation that addresses this, such as the Planning and Development Act, but it is of great importance that we realign ourselves with that initiative, because it doesn't make sense for the laws to be in the books and then we ignore them, because then what's the point? Lastly, most importantly, understand that the future of agriculture is not only going to be determined by the tools that we use within the field, but it is also going to be determined by the tools that we walk around with in our pockets that hopefully we all have on silent, right? As a recent computer science graduate of 2025 from the Cape campus, and as a member of the Barbados National Youth Parliament, I, as an individual, and we, as an organization of young individuals, see it necessary to have a greater combination of the agriculture and technology. And this is within point B in the resolution. One of the ways that this can be looked at specifically is creating a platform that connects these small farmers directly to their customers. And when you do this, it can be beneficial for many reasons. The first of which is that it creates or increases the potential income that farmers can make, thus drawing persons towards the sector. And in addition to that, it prevents food that otherwise goes unwasted when it isn't sold. And lastly, it connects, And lastly, it connects the local communities directly to the local produce. And if you need an example or a success story as to the benefits that can be had from this, we need to look no further than Jamaica, because they would have already introduced such a platform. And it was reported in 2024 alone by the Jamaica Information Service that the Agricultural Link Exchange platform would have generated up to 400 million Jamaican dollars in sales. In Barbados, we have the resources. We have the necessary talents and minds in order to introduce such a thing. All that is needed now is the mobilization of those resources. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, it is important that we understand, let us not treat pretty larceny as a petty crime. Let us stop condemning the agricultural spaces under concrete. And finally, let us fully utilize technology within agriculture, and with that, we can make food security great. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I now acknowledge the Honourable Member, Leader of Opposition Business, Roshonna Clark.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Our economy is not a sandbox for experiments. However, I did expect that the government side would bring actual solutions, not just fluff. According to Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised 12th edition, a resolution is a motion that expresses the sense, will, or decision of the assembly in a particular matter. By definition, its purpose is to provide a formal statement of a body's decision, thereby resolving the matter. Yet, there seems to be some sort of disconnection between the definition and this. A perfect example would be C, strengthen policies and government reforms. This fails to mention how it is missing, it's pretty truly missing on the mechanisms on how to actually do this. Continuing, my leader of opposition would have said that an attempt was made. Mind you, he did not say a good one. And I would like to continue by saying that in the absence of an impressive effort, I would like to give some ideas to the government side on how to bring something of substance. My first idea is a Food Systems Resilience Office. This will be under the Ministry of Agriculture. They will oversee strategy execution, data transparency, and inter-ministerial coordination. Furthermore, they can create initiatives such as a farm in every parish. This would allow persons to connect. This would encourage agronomy. Our people are suffering and we need to bring ideas of substance. And I believe that this can work because you know what? If we give an incentive that if persons put in the work, that they will be able to get a percentage of what is grown, I believe that will bring persons to want to join. Continuing, schools can also come and visit. It would allow persons to connect, whether you are living in an apartment, because persons in apartments often don't have places where they can grow crops. And yet, nothing of that is mentioned here. I see nothing about persons who are living in places where they cannot grow crops and how they can grow in a different place. But continuing on what I was saying, we can establish farmland protection acts. This would allow active farms that are doing something in our economy to be protected by persons wanting to buy their land for tourism. Yes, tourism is important. Yes, that's where most of our money comes from. But however, food is what we need, because we cannot eat tourism. And please, do not think that this act is trying to ban development. It redirects it to less ecological sensitive areas, such as food. Continuing, while commercial development may offer immediate financial gains, protected farmlands is our future, because we cannot live and see the future without food. Madam Speaker, I would like to continue by saying, half measures dressed as progress.
Honorable member, you have 2 minutes remaining.
No problem. Half measures dressed as progress only deepens the crisis. We cannot eat potential. And continuing on that, there's a difference between intent and impact. This intends to do stuff. I will acknowledge that. It intends to increase investment. It intends to harness agricultural innovation. However, I do not see how this can be executed based off of what was produced today. And I would like to close by saying, I hope that the government side reflects on what they are bringing for the people of this country to see. Food security is important. And I would really love if y'all take away from this and reflect on what you have brought today. I am obliged to you.
I now acknowledge the honorable member, Sarah Bisram.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, good morning. Our current food system is in crisis. It fails the 31% of Barbadians experiencing moderate to severe food insecurity, according to the FAO, and the 75% across the English-speaking Caribbean using savings to eat, according to the World Food Programme. Imagine a parent sitting at the kitchen table, book lists in one hand, grocery lists in the other, realizing they cannot afford both. So school supplies must wait because hunger will not. But there is no need to imagine, Madam Speaker. This is the cruelty our people experience, because when our import-heavy system crumbles under external shocks and inflation increases by 4.3% as it did in 2022, then 58% across the English-speaking Caribbean spend less on education and health, and 57% eat smaller portions, according to the FAO. This is our people sacrificing their future just to survive the now. That is why I stand today to support this resolution, this blueprint for survival. Yes, we currently import 80% of our food, but we grow the rest in a climate-vulnerable environment. This leaves us exposed to external shocks, economic, political, and climatic, that disrupt supply chains, causing food price volatility and supply shortages. The impact of Hurricane Beryl, greatly responsible for delaying progress on the 25 by 2025 CARICOM initiative, is a stark reminder of this fact. Therefore, we must invest in sustainable agriculture. We have already begun, currently rolling out 30 new greenhouses across the island, which post-Hurricane Beryl have been remodeled to be sturdier and enable year-round cultivation, regardless of weather conditions. Barbados is also set to begin in 2026 a climate resilient project spearheaded by the FAO and funded by the Global Environment Facility. This project will focus on protected agriculture, solar-powered irrigation systems, and closed-loop systems for production. This is just the beginning. This government understands that we must work with nature and not against it. Why? To lower input costs over time, to make us less dependent on volatile markets, to transform agriculture into an endeavor of economic
Honorable
empowerment.
member, you have 2 minutes remaining.
We recognize the need for strengthening ongoing regional and international cooperation because trade is essential. We are committed to reinforcing collaboration with CARICOM. Between 2022 to 2024, we saw a 24% increase in food production across the region, the introduction of a regional agricultural insurance product, and increased cross-border investment. The 25 by 2025 plan may be delayed, but it is in progress, and we are already seeing improvements. This government remains fully committed to the new goal. CARICOM has reported that recently there have been discussions with Brazil pertaining to opening up trade relations in order to diversify our import partners and make us more shock resistant. To question the wisdom of investing in a sector that only contributes 1.85% to GDP, according to the Barbados Statistical Service, would be no more than narrow economic thinking. When we only give 2% of our attention, as the sector is only 2% of our GDP, what do we do when war and pandemics close borders? What do we do when the ship stops sailing? Let us not forget the India rice ban of 2023. When a crisis strikes and our import partners say to us we must put our people first, what, Madam Speaker, will we feed our people? Food security cannot exist without food sovereignty. I will conclude now as I know my time is running. We must be willing to eat what we grow and grow what we eat. This resolution does not represent the preference for food security. It is a blueprint for survival, and that is why I support it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I now acknowledge the honorable member, Rakia Shepherd.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, let me begin with a truth that we cannot afford to ignore anymore. Food security is not a luxury, it is a national necessity. It means every Barbadian should have consistent access to safe, nutritious food to live a healthy and active life. But let us be honest, we are far from that reality, and right now, our beautiful 166 square miles of island is under threat. Barbados currently imports over 80% of what we eat. That's right, more than 80% of what we eat travels across oceans just to get here. And while it may be cheaper, it is usually highly processed and low in nutritious value. This diet is a health crisis with non-communicable diseases such as hypertension and diabetes, which is surging through our population. But this is not just a health crisis, Madam Speaker, it's a sovereignty crisis. This heavy dependency also makes us dangerously vulnerable to global supply shocks. One cargo delay, one war, and one global disruption, and suddenly, the shelves in our supermarkets are empty. It's a game of roulette we cannot, I repeat, we cannot afford to keep playing. Just last year, Hurricane Beryl devastated our fisheries. More than 220 vessels were damaged, 60 being completely destroyed. Fishers and vendors lost 50 to 60% of their income, and tourism faced fresh fish shortages. Our beloved Bridgetown Fish Market took over 6 months to restore minimal operations, and only 14% of those boats were worthy by November 2024. These are not just abstract numbers, Madam Speaker. These are livelihoods, families, and survival, and they were left exposed with no insurance, no plan, and no protection. So today, as a representative of this opposition that not only understands the importance of food security, I want to be the one acting on it. So I needed to ask myself, how can we claim that food security is a pillar of our economy, yet it is not a prioritized subject in our school's curriculum? Agriculture is optional. But that is a contradiction, Madam Speaker. We cannot say we value agriculture while treating it like a side hustle. If we want food security, then agriculture must be treated as a core academic subject from primary schools to university. Let's start teaching our students about hydroponics, agrotechnology, and sustainable farming. We must
Honorable member, you
inspire,
have 2 minutes
we
remaining.
must inspire youth to say things like, I'm studying, I'm working on sustainable aquaponics, because that is how we build a new generation of innovators. So let's break it down. Let's find ways to move forward boldly, smartly, and strategically in order to secure Barbados. I would like to speak on Resolution C, which speaks to strengthening policies and government reform. Currently, food policies in Barbados are fragmented, with agriculture, trade, health, and education operating in silos. To fix this, we need cross-ministerial task force on food security, accountable for executing a unified strategy. Agriculture and food security targets must be built into our education, climate, trade, and development policies. Local councils, schools, private businesses must also have defined roles in increasing food literacy and supporting local producers. This matters because without joint thinking, we waste money, duplicate efforts, and leave farmers and fishers unprotected and unsupported. Barbados needs one coordinated food policy where every ministry understands and is responsible for feeding this nation. So, Madam Speaker, I stand with this bill. However, it is time to reimagine our food system. Let's move from being importers and consumers to becoming producers, thinkers, and leaders. Let's fund science, promote agriculture in schools, support our farmers, and build food resilience from the ground up. Let's stop depending on others to feed us. The future of food in Barbados will not be built on pity or panic, but on purpose, planning, and power. Let us not speak of food security. Let us build it, teach it, and live it. And with that, Madam Speaker, I am obliged to you.
I now acknowledge the Honorable Member Davidson Griffith.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are all here gathered in this honorable chamber to discuss on a topic that benefits Barbados and all of Barbadian people, food security. But before I begin, I just want to start by saying that we understand food security and agriculture in this country is a problem. But Mr. Speaker, Barbados as a small island developing state, SIDS, focused unique challenges to food security, including limited arable land, declining domestic agriculture, and a dependency on food imports, which make the island vulnerable to external economic function and supply chain disruption. Madam Speaker, we all here witnessed and seen the 2024 Hurricane Barrow, and how badly it impacted us and the region where we are still rebuilding from it. We are also witnessing now the climate crisis across our country, our region, and the world. But despite those challenges, Madam Speaker, this government understands the importance of food security and agriculture in this country. We also understand the importance for every Barbadian to eat and every person who comes to our country to eat. That is why the government is investing its money in various areas when it comes to food security, at boosting local agriculture production and reducing reliance on imports. And to mention a few of those areas, Madam Speaker, the government is investing its money into vertical farming and modern agriculture technology, expansion, diversification of crop provision, irrigation, infrastructure, and climate-smart water management, strategic partnership and institutional capacity, and market linkage and agricultural economics. Why, Madam Speaker? Because we understand the importance of it in a world like today. But Madam Speaker, I want to get across two topics I have here today. One, supporting small-scale farmers. Why it matters, Madam Speaker? Small-scale farmers feed many of our people and the world, but often lack tools, land, or funding. Let's be clear, small-scale farmers are the backbone of global food security, the generation of sustainable agriculture, and the key resilient to rural economics. To support them is just not an ethical responsibility, it is a strategy necessity. They produce over 70% of the world's food, especially in developing regions. Supporting them ensures that local food systems remain strong, drive, and less dependent on international markets. When we invest in small-scale farmers, we reduce hunger, stabilize price, and protect communities from supply chain disruption, something we all experience during global crises like the COVID-19 pandemic. But Madam Speaker, I come with solutions for how we can support small-scale farmers more in Barbados. 1, have climate-resistant infrastructure and training. Have access to affordable finance and crop insurance, land rights and legal support, and access to international market and fair price. Madam Speaker, when we do these things, we reduce the level of imports on certain food and increase the economy. 2, food waste and loss. Madam Speaker, it is time we take action now to reducing food waste and loss in Barbados. Why, Madam Speaker? Because in a world where nearly 1/3 of all food production is lost or waste, while over 800 million people go hungry every day, we must ask ourselves, is this just a crisis of food or a crisis of concern? Madam Speaker, globally we waste 1.3 billion tons of food annually. That's not just food, that's wasted water, wasted land, wasted energy, and wasted labor. In the Caribbean, studies shows up to 30% of food is lost before it even reaches
Honorable
customers.
Member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Madam Speaker, in Barbados we import over $800 million in food every year, while local farmers often struggle with what they grow. Meanwhile, household food continue to climb. That's not just both economic madness, that's environmental neglection. That have to end. Madam Speaker, some will say let the private sector fix it. Let households be more responsible. But that is not enough. Government is the only body with the power, resources, and responsibility to call national action, and we are taking action now by bringing this resolution here today.
Honorable
But, Madam
Member.
Speaker, I will conclude.
Okay.
I will conclude, Madam Speaker. And I want to say this in this honorable chamber, through you, to the opposition members and to my government members. To those who may be watching online and those who can hear my voice within these walls,
Please
and
make
outside
it brief, Honorable
of these
Member.
walls. It is time that we take action and understand the importance of our farmers, the men and women who grow our rum provision and raise our meat provision here in Barbados. Not only here, but across the region and across the world. That without them, the poor will not be able to eat, the middle class will not be able to eat, and the rich will not be able to eat. They are important to a country. And with that, I oblige to you.
Thank you. I now acknowledge the Honorable Member Angelica Serrano.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. I stand here today not to romanticize food security or to speak about the initiative of the government, but I'm here to clarify some facts that need to be clarified. First off, CARICOM countries are 80% dependent for the food that they eat and consume. Now, that's not strength, that's just vulnerability with a shared passport. We need somebody, something, in some way to be able to secure our food here in Barbados. Now, it is important to understand that while the government side may stand proudly to say and to propose that we strengthen our ties with CARICOM and regional collaboration, it is important to understand that who are we going to depend on? Guyana? The only country that currently the Secretariat of CARICOM recognized as being the only one food secure at the moment and actually moving towards the 25 by 2025 initiative. What are we going to do? Are we going to drain the life out of Guyana? Are we going to suck its life out to be able to sustain the rest of the countries? Are we going to drain what Guyana has to offer so that we can sustain Barbados? It's not sustainable. However, the government has said that this resolution has been based on sustainability. So I don't see how this is sustainable, Madam Speaker. It is important to understand that having CARICOM itself declaring Guyana being the only food-secure country at the moment, it confirms what we already know. One nation cannot feed 15. And we cannot ask a nation to die so that the rest of us can eat. It is important to understand that if we must go to importing foods, maybe we should try to explore TLC, Tratado de Libre Comercio, with nations like Colombia, Brazil, and Chile who have actual agricultural surpluses and who have agricultural structures and methods far more advanced than many of the CARICOM states. Now, I would like to quote our Honorable Prime Minister Mia Moore-Motley, who said that we cannot be truly independent unless we can feed ourselves. So I ask once again, how is it that depending on a CARICOM, on an import-dependent bloc like CARICOM, to get our food and our resources for our people, make us sovereign and independent? It does not. But that's not the most horrible omission that has happened in this resolution. I must mention that the youth have not been mentioned in this resolution. And it is outrageous because we must understand that according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, only 5% of Caribbean youth are actually interested in agriculture.
Honorable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. And in wrapping up, I must say that it has been recognized that we have an aging population of farmers. We have an aging population of people on whom we depend to get our food. So, Madam Speaker, I do not stand not just in opposition of the resolution, but I stand to defend a vision where Barbados is able to thrive with its own soil, where we produce our own food, and where we are actually coming out of our comfort zones to seek real solutions and real partnerships if food security, and I quote, a matter of life and death, is actually the goal here. And with that, Madam Speaker, I oblige.
Before we proceed to the next speaker, we would just like to caution the use of names within the honorable chambers. We will now proceed to the next speaker, Honorable Member Renisha Connell.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. We've reached a point where ignoring the state of agriculture in Barbados is no longer an option. Barbados is highly vulnerable to climate change and natural disasters. According to the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum, Barbados faces annual drought risk alongside increasing storm activity, both of which severely threaten our crop production systems. As it stands, over 80% of the food we consume is imported, costing us over 800 million Barbadian dollars each year. This is unsustainable and a threat to national resilience. With that being said, investing in sustainable agriculture is not optional, it is necessary. Greenhouse farming, techniques like hydroponics and drip irrigation systems allow for more reliable year-round production, even in harsh weather conditions. Just one greenhouse unit in Barbados can produce up to 10 times more than open field farming, using 90% less water, which is an essential advantage during our dry season. But beyond food security, such an investment will allow economic opportunities. In 2023, agriculture in Barbados only contributed 0.8% to Barbados's GDP. That number does not reflect its potential. What it really reflects is our lack of investment in the sector. With the right investment, we open the opportunity for agriculture to be a profitable industry in the long run, creating hundreds of job opportunities for young Barbadians. Every dollar we invest is a dollar contributed to job creation, national resilience, and reducing the massive import bill that we have. Madam Speaker, food security is not an agriculture issue alone. It is a national priority that intersects ministries like trade, education, and the environment. Consider this: if the Ministry of Agriculture increases local production without the coordinated trade policy, foreign goods will continue to flood our markets, undercutting our local farmers.
Honorable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Finally, I'd like to touch land. As I pass through rural parishes like St. Philip, St. George, and St. Lucie, I don't see greenery, just see greenery. I see idle fields and abandoned lots, land that holds enormous potential for food production and national development. The issue is not a lack of land, Madam Speaker. In fact, according to the Ministry of Agriculture, over 20,000 acres of arable land, we have over 20,000 acres of arable land. However, less than 40% of that land is used for farming. So the issue is not a lack of land, it is a lack of productive use of that land, which is why I strongly support the resolution's call for safeguarding our farmland in the island. And with that, Madam Speaker, I urge.
I now acknowledge the honorable member, Denzel Green.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As a raised in this honorable house, I recognize that my presence here is not a right in this capacity, but it is indeed a privilege that has been granted unto me, and for that I will be forever grateful. Ma'am, these days are funny nights. No more than ever before, food security must become a reality for our nation. For too long, governments past and present have downplayed the seriousness of us achieving food security. It must become a reality. Ma'am, the current state of world affairs is one of uncertainty, and we should recognize that because we have seen how easily supply chains can be disrupted. COVID-19 has taught us just that. This is a serious moment, and it must be met with the seriousness it deserves. Barbadians should be able to access food at all times. Food security must become a reality. And Madam Speaker, as I stand, will I commend this government for bringing this resolution to the House under the theme or topic food security, because as I said, we need to achieve food security. There are sections within this resolution that are cause for concern. And I say so because within section E of the resolution, it speaks to an initiative within CARICOM to achieve a reduced import bill. And that initiative that I'm talking about, Madam Speaker, as it is written in the resolution, is 25 by 25. And of course, Barbados is signatory to this initiative. And I want to stick a pin here because I want to commend my country, because Barbados has always been a champion of regional integration, a champion of regional security, a champion of regional strength and cooperation, and for that, Barbados must be commended. Speaker, continuing making reference to section E, it speaks about, as I said, strengthening the region's food security. And as I went through section E, 2025 by 25, it caused me to pause. And the reason why it caused me to pause because in school, in mathematics, you were taught that whenever you see the word by, it signals some form of multiplication. And so, ma'am, when I saw this in the resolution, 2025 by 2025, I multiplied. And when I multiplied 25 by 2025, it gave me a figure of 50,625, and I argue that is how many years it will take for Barbados to become food secured under this government.
Honorable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we should be able to grow what we eat what we grow. Our farmers need the necessary support. We need to support our farmers. And Madam Speaker, also within this resolution, it talks about climate resilient farming. And I want to say that, while that is noble, we have to address the current realities that are facing our farmers because it is one of concern. And as it relates to the climate resilience farming, we have to look at the current realities. And by just going ahead and want to implement something so advanced, not saying that it's wrong, but wanting to implement something so advanced, it is like a groom jumping a broom and does not have a bride. We need to address the current reality facing our farmers. And that current reality that I speak of, ma'am, is crop theft. Because those who farm, Madam Speaker, are laborers of love, and we must support them. Agriculture should be the backbone of our economy. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, I want to say that I hope that this debate will bring forth viable solutions from both sides of the House, because this is one country, one nation, and one people. And we must cherish it, and Barbadians must be able, like I said, to access food at all times. And I say to us in this House today, let us make food security a reality. And with that, Madam Speaker, I'm obliged to you.
I now acknowledge the honorable member, Kashawn Brewster.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, I stand here in full support of the resolution before us, not because of the side that I stand here today, but because food security is more than just about farming. It is about our survival, it is about our independence, and it's about smart governance. Ma'am, according to the World Food Program and CARICOM's 2024 assessment, over 40% of Barbadians are food insecure, with nearly 1 in 5 being severely food insecure. Ma'am, that means that people right here at home are skipping meals, going hungry, and unsure where their next meal will even come from. Ma'am, I encourage everyone in the earshot of my voice today to not just see these as numbers and mere statistics on a report, but these are our neighbors, these are our colleagues, these are our friends, and these are our families. If we fail to act now, we are risk failing all of them. Because let us not forget, food insecurity does not wait for permission. It strikes when the borders close, when the ships don't dock, and when crises erupt. Ma'am, we recognize, no. We learned that crisis, from pandemics to wars, can block our food imports overnight, just like that. Ma'am, if we continue to depend too heavily on foreign markets, it will leave us to shocks that we cannot control. Ma'am, this resolution provides a strong and realistic plan to reduce said risk. It focuses on our investment in local agriculture, food transport, and storage, and also speaks on the use of data and technology to cut waste and improve our distribution. Madam Speaker, these are not just vague promises, these are practical steps that matches our island's size, our island's needs, and its abilities. Let me offer you a scenario, Madam Speaker. Let's say one of our major import partners, Trinidad, let's say United States, is hit by a devastating hurricane. Do we really expect that they're going to stop and say, wait, they may get the food shipment this year, we got to send it. That's not what's going to happen. As mentioned before on this slide, they're going to do what they are supposed to do, focus on their own people, and that is what we need to do right now. Madam Speaker, we must do this not out of fear, but out of foresight. And I want everyone to hear when I say this, because food security is national security, Madam Speaker. Food security is just not something you put on a piece of paper and say, listen, we ain't trying to fix that. Ma'am, this resolution encourages the cooperation between the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security. It also includes our farmers, our educators, our experts in health, and the private sector, so we can have one united food system. Ma'am, the resolution also encourages proper land use, so that we can protect our fertile soil before it's sold, paved, and lost to development. Because what I can tell you with my limited experience in food security is that once that land is gone, it is gone. And with it, so has any hope of food security in Barbados.
Honourable Member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We often speak about independence, but how independent are we, really, if we cannot feed ourselves? Ma'am, I'm not sure about you, but I cannot survive off of green bananas, sweet potatoes, and breadfruit for the rest of my life. Let us not wait for when the crisis exposes our weakness. Let us act now so that every Barbadian child is a nation where food is not a gamble, but a guarantee. Let us not make the mistake of assuming that calm seas will last forever. We must act now so that when disaster strikes, we are prepared. We must prioritize resilience over convenience, foresight over delay, and production over dependence. Ma'am, in my conclusion, let this be the moment Barbados secures its food supply, not just for today, but every uncertain tomorrow. Let this be the moment that food security is not a promise, but a practice in this nation. I support this resolution because the risk of inaction is far too great. Madam Speaker, I oblige.
I now acknowledge the Honourable Member, Abigail Broom.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I must admit there is a pattern that's becoming a bit hard to ignore. We often see resolutions full of ambition, addressing big words like innovation and sustainability, but lacking the thing that really gives policy power, a meaningful connection to the people it's meant to serve. Today's resolution has strong intentions, but it falls short of overlooking one of the most vital players in Barbados' future, our youth. The closest thing to youth involvement this resolution includes is the vague mention of the Ministry of Education in the call for cross-sectoral collaboration, and respectfully, that isn't enough. Young people aren't just students, they're emerging farmers, they're climate advocates, and they're entrepreneurs. If we do not include them in this resolution and include them in our food security systems and policies, we are missing one of the biggest chances that we have for long-term impact. We need excitement, we need a dream of connecting with where our food comes from, and that energy is what we need to tap into as it relates to youth engagement in agriculture. Yet, while this resolution sets broad policies and plans, it stops short of providing clear blueprint to help young people feel like farming belongs to us too. There's no mention of school-based agriculture projects, no support for youth-led agriculture startups, and not even a hint of how we can channel that curiosity into careers. I will hope this government also wants to assist already active agriculture programs like the 4-H Club, which for decades has introduced students to agriculture, sustainability, and leadership through hands-on projects. And in more recent times, we also have the Growing Tomorrow's Harvest initiative, where students in secondary schools are literally growing their own food out of wet gardens, learning to manage crops, and so much more. What I do suggest can be done though is that it should be a working goal for every primary school to have an active 4-H program and for at least every school to have a garden. That is what a start to true youth inclusion looks like, and imagine how much more could be achieved if initiatives like these were formally supported and amplified through policy. I have to give the government its stars for providing such a strong definition of food security, which states, all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Though our leader pointed out the aspect of food preferences, I want to build on that and take the time to remind us that food security is just not about the need for access to any food, but it's about access to nutritious food that supports an active and healthy life. Yet, as of late 2024, according to PAHO and WHO, approximately 32% of Barbadian adolescents are overweight and 16% are classified as obese. That means nearly 1 in every 3 teens are already on a dangerous health trajectory. I propose a government-backed initiative that empowers young entrepreneurs to partner with farms and businesses to create affordable, youth-focused outlets from anything from cafes to restaurants to food, even food trucks. With the help of creative engagement like loyalty rewards, student discounts, and pop-up events, we can make healthy food not only accessible, but genuinely exciting to our generation.
Honorable Member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. Food security is not just a policy issue, it's a people issue. At the heart of it all, it's our youth who will either reap the benefits or bear the burdens of our decisions. So if there's one thing that I urge the government to take into great consideration, let it be this. If you genuinely want to see a change in Barbados' future as it pertains to food security, I suggest that you take great consideration into who will be leading it. And with that, Madam Speaker, I'm obliged.
I now acknowledge the Honorable Member, Chrisanne Griffith.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today I not only rise to present to you a speech, but to plant the seed of security into the soil of this nation so that it can grow and feed the bellies of the people of this nation, so that no one who stands on this soil with us and calls themselves a Bajan ever goes hungry again. Now today I present to you a definition of food security approved by the World Food Summit. Food security is the state where all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to safe, sufficient, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Now, Madam Speaker, this resolution here talks about increased investment to sustainable agricultural development. We intend to do this through climate resilient farming and technology. We also intend to do this by speaking in a language that the youth understand. As it's stated here, we said that we intend to utilize technology. We intend to communicate with the youth through a communication channel that they understand. This generation is, as you would say, technology natives. I just want to touch briefly on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a motivational theory in psychology. Basically, it's a 5-tier model which states that physiological needs need to be met in order to meet self-actualization needs. Basically, physiological needs are things such as food, water, and any other basic necessity that humans need to live. I say that to say that agriculture is the basic foundation of this nation. In order to
Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
Thank you, ma'am. I rise on a point of order. The honourable member is misleading the House. The member would have stated that physiological needs refer to things such as food, water, and then went on to say any other necessity for life, but that is incorrect, as we have things such as mental health needs or whatnot, which are clearly distinct from physiological needs. So I would ask that the member clarify what she really meant by that.
Honorable member?
I will move on. So, as I was saying, physiological needs such as basic food and water are needed in order for us to survive. I say that to say that we cannot expect our nation's youth to go into the educational system and retain information while their stomachs are hungry, while they have to worry about when their next food is coming from. We cannot expect that youth will not turn to crime if they have no other means of acquiring food. During colonial times, Barbados agriculture focused on sugarcane for export. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, this export-driven model still exists. Even though as of today we are a republic, we still focus on the export-driven model to survive and feed the people of this nation. Over 80% of food consumed in Barbados is from overseas, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization. I say that to say that we must start dreaming in the dark and start dreaming in the light, so that we can bring a better future for the people of this nation, so that anybody who stands on this soil with us today and calls themselves a Bajan never goes hungry again.
Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
And with that, I oblige.
Honorable member?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order once again. The honourable member is misleading the House. The member would have stated that now, despite being a republic, we're still using exports as our main blah, blah, blah. I believe the member meant to say imports, because as has been pointed out by members on the government and opposition side, currently we are heavily dependent on imports, not exports. Thank you.
Honorable member, would you like to clarify?
Thank you for the correction.
Duly noted. I now acknowledge the honorable member, Ferdinand King.
Good morning. Today I will be speaking on point F of the resolution, safeguarding agricultural land, as stated in the resolution. Safeguarding, I commend it. It's a very needed goal, but implementing it will be a problem, as we do not have much land, and as a former member of parliament has stated, she said there were 40,000 acres of arable land not used. I have no idea where that statement has come from, but that's simply untrue. Anyways, it's a commendable goal for enhancing food security, but with how small our island is, the land is crucial for other sectors of government, particularly tourism and housing. As we are currently in a housing crisis, some of the idle land that she claimed to be idle is not truly idle. It is needed and are in motion to be used for tourism expansion or housing. And historically, arable land has already seen arable land has already seen a 50% decrease since 1913, and land continuing to be alienated from agriculture at an estimated rate of 1,000 acres a year, and permanently converted to real estate. In this context, designating land to be protected or even redirecting arable arable idle lands towards food production.
Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of information. I would just like the honorable member to state his source on the information relating to the arable land.
My source is Terra Luxury 2016. And prioritize agricultural land preservation, while vital, will cause a problem. We cannot do it. Furthermore, the land security component by protective agricultural policies directly impact the current housing crisis. This unaffordability has profound social implications, worsening the well-being of individuals and community by isolating communities and by forcing them to spend disproportionate amounts of income on housing. Moreover, a scattered approach to building houses, as how densely packed, we are the 18th most densely packed country in the world. And many of us as Barbadians live in single homes and do not like to be in large communities, especially huddled together. This leads to a significant potential expense of the government and private sectors in building new homes and figuring out innovative housing solutions. Beyond these economic and land use conflicts, a significant challenge for performing local food consumption in Barbados lies in deeply ingrained cultural perceptions. Many Barbadians, due to this island's history, do not like the natural provisions that we can grow.
Honorable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
These foods, while nutritious and historically staples of survival for enslaved Africans, were often consumed out of necessity and were sometimes the least desirable cuts of meat, and were packed with heavy carbohydrate concentration in relation to protein. This historical context has, for a majority of Bajans, created a lingering stigma leading to preference for imported food as it seeming less slavish and a symbol of higher quality and modernity. This cultural barrier means that even with increased local production, there's a significant hurdle in shifting consumer demand away from imports and towards locally farmed produce, impacting the economic viability of the agricultural sector. I oblige, Your Honor.
Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I raise on the point of information. I would just like the honorable member to clarify his linkage between housing and food security. Myself, and some of the honorable members on the government side have found a bit of confusion in part of this speech.
Unfortunately, honorable member, I don't think you would have spoken as that, would you? Did you? No. But however, honorable member, would you like to respond?
Honorable Speaker, as in my speech I stated that Barbados does not have a lot of land. And so to balance it, we cannot just give all the idle land to agriculture. We have to keep some for housing as we are currently in a housing crisis. So between the land needed for housing and the land needed for agriculture, we cannot say that all the land has to go to agriculture. We have to think of the citizens and where they will be staying.
Thank you, honorable member. And I will acknowledge the honorable member, Zara Lianch.
Madam Speaker, I rise in gratitude to you for having given me the opportunity to speak. The Barbadian people are our purpose. Their well-being is our mission, and their safety is of our utmost concern. Consequently, it should come as no surprise that we are here in your honorable parliament to discuss the importance of reducing our food import bill. As human beings, food is our source of life. And for many Barbadians, it is also a source of joy. I know many families who go out to eat at restaurants on special occasions to celebrate the accomplishments of life with those they love. I know many other families who find comfort and pride in their home-cooked meals, whether that be a palau rice with salad, their macaroni pie and chicken, or even the cuckoo and flying fish that our nation is known for. However, Madam Speaker, it has come to the understanding of the government that our current food sources are too far away or too processed to even scrape the bottom of the nutrient barrel. According to the Caribbean Public Health Agency, 14% of Barbadian adults have diabetes, over 20% suffer from hypertension, and 1 in 3 are obese, costing our country millions each year. Frankly, this is unacceptable. Access to fresh, local, and nutritious food is not a luxury. It must be a priority. This government understands that the average Bajan deserves better. They deserve the peace of mind that comes with knowing that their food is fresh, affordable, and safe. But Madam Speaker, nearly 40% of Barbadians reported moderate to severe food insecurity, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization. This means that almost half our people do not know where their next meal will come from, on an island with fertile land and proud farming traditions. This is why we have partnered with our CARICOM member states, such as Guyana, sending her the black belly sheep as part of the 25% by 2025 plus 5 initiative. Madam Speaker, as the leaders of this country and the carers of this nation, we strive to ensure that the average Barbadian's cost of living does not exceed what he can reasonably afford. Let us take a look at Section E, which encourages us to work as a unified Caribbean. One of our very prominent Caribbean leaders once stated that 1 from 10 leaves not, Madam Speaker, as he warned against the dangers of nationalistic isolation. This truth has stood the test of time, and it will continue to do so unless we stand up and advocate for our people. And Madam Speaker, let us not ignore Section B, which promotes the use of new technology for our small farmers, which will inevitably link them to their consumers. Look around you. Everything that you see here today in our chambers is of new technology. The cameras, the microphones, even the lights above our heads. If we deserve these new gadgets, why don't our small farmers? To deny our small farmers the ability to expand in the 21st century is to deny our country a future. To let our small farmers suffer is to let our children suffer. And so the question is not should they be given access, but how quickly can that access be granted? And Madam Speaker, let it be known that this government will do right by its people. Through initiatives such as BARMIS, the Barbados Agricultural Marketing and Information System, we will enable the creation of strong linkages between small farmers and their consumers.
Honourable Member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. So that Barbados has the opportunity to go back to the food secure nation it once was. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the time has come for us to redefine what independence truly means, not just in anthem or in flag, but in our ability to feed ourselves, our ability to support our small farmers, and our ability to build a Barbados that is not just proud, but prepared. Let us remember that food is not just sustenance. It is culture, it is identity, and most importantly, it is power. And that power should not be left to lie in the hands of those foreign producers while our small farmers struggle to survive. Let us be the parliament that says enough. Enough to rising health concerns, enough to rising import bills, and enough to the myth that we must always look outward for our survival. Let us be the parliament that waters the seeds of food security with partnership, innovation, and pride. Because, Madam Speaker, when we feed ourselves, we free ourselves. I thank you.
I now acknowledge the Honourable Member, Nikau Ned.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I get into the meat of my speech, I would like to first start by saying we, the Barbados National Youth Parliament, we acknowledge and we commend the work of our farmers
we appreciate them and we see all that they're doing, and we know because without them, the pillars of our food security, we would not be able to eat at all. Well, not at all, but at all. Madam Speaker, as I was scrolling casually yesterday on social media, thinking about relaxing, I came across a video by an organization, and they were interviewing some small farmers, and my heart honestly began to hurt me. The small farmers said that when people pass them, they look at them like they're nothing. They look at them like they're a word that is not parliamentary language. And Madam Speaker, that should not be. They said young people in particular would scorn them. And Madam Speaker, that hurt me to the core, because one of the things that came up in our training about food security was youth disengagement is a huge part of the problem in the agricultural sector. Most of our farmers are of the older generations. Most of our farmers are what we would consider the old people. And Madam Speaker, that is not good. When we look towards the future and when we look at now, we must see that our youth need to be involved in agricultural activities. Things like agronomy, soil science, agricultural engineering, fishing, veterinarian, horticulturalists. These things you would find mostly the older people. And for those wondering what agronomy is the science of soil management and crop production. Those wondering about horticulture is the art, science, technology, and business of cultivating plants for food, medicinal purposes, and aesthetic enjoyment. Without these things, how can we as a society survive? I know in the resolution it states that government is looking to reduce the import bill. But how can we reduce the import bill if there are no agronomists, there are no soil scientists, there are no fishermen, no veterinarians, no horticulturalists, no agricultural engineers? Without these things, yes, the farmers are there, but all of these careers, all of these people work together. They're a synergy, they're an orchestra, and without the key instruments, an orchestra will not be effective. So we need to encourage our youth to pursue some of these careers. Even up to last week, I didn't know what agronomy was. I was completely unaware of agronomy, and to me, that is something that we could implement in schools during our career days, where we have doctors, nurses, and all these other careers there present in our career days. We can have some agronomists, some soil scientists, some agricultural engineers to really educate our young people about the different aspects of agriculture. Some of them may not want to farm, some of them may want to farm, some of them are more sciencey in a way. They want to analyze the soil, they want to analyze the various nutrients in the soil and tell you, well, this soil isn't good for this crop, this soil is best for that crop, and different things like that. Even historically, when people were on the plantations and they were farming, they did crop rotation so that the various nutrients in the soil wouldn't die out from only one crop being planted there. In addition to that, Madam Speaker, it's very sad to see that no, we don't have many young farmers. And this is really, really sad, because imagine a future where, say, there are no young people going into farming and the older generations have died out. We'd be importing sweet potatoes, yams, edos, and all of these different things that can be grown here. Imagine that, say, we didn't import those things and you wanted a roti, Madam Speaker. You wanted a chicken and potato roti, but there was no potato for you to have in your roti. What then? What then, Madam Speaker? Even big grain rice, back in the day during the World War, there was no rice. You had to eat big grain rice, which is sweet potato. Suppose there was no sweet potato for you to eat at all. What would happen? And in thinking, not just thinking about now, we must think about the future. And this resolution does not talk about the youth in particular, it does not directly target that one aspect. What about youth in agriculture specifically? It does not speak to that. It does not speak to that at all. There is nowhere on this paper, besides the title Barbados National Youth Parliament, that specifically states youth being involved in agriculture. Yes, I saw the technology aspect part in the resolution.
Honorable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That we will be implementing, the government will be implementing technological advancements. What about the older people who aren't so tech savvy? What are they going to do if the young people aren't encouraged to help them? And in closing, Madam Speaker, I would like to leave everyone with this thought. What if there were no one to fill the shoes of those in the agricultural sector? What then? What would we as a society, what would we as Barbadians do, Madam Speaker? And when the going gets tough, we must be able and ready to feed ourselves, because no one is going to feed us. When there's a storm or a hurricane, nobody is going to feed us. We have to be able to feed ourselves. And with that, Madam Speaker, I am obliged to you.
The Barbados National Youth Parliament would like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Arthur Holder, the Speaker of the House of Assembly. We thank you for joining us today. We now acknowledge the Honorable Member Zahara Richards. We now acknowledge the Honorable Member Kezra St. Just.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. Good morning, Madam Speaker and honorable members. I'm hoarse this morning, so please pardon that. When I think of food security, I think of it as a source of life, the sustenance that fuels our bodies. I believe that food gives us the energy to carry out with our daily tasks and to enjoy our daily lives. Because of this, I believe that food security is of utmost importance. For these reasons, I rise in full support of the resolution, because I believe that it has sustainable plans to ensure food security for current and future generations. The main 2 points that I would like to focus on today are harnessing agricultural innovation and enhancing food chain supplies. Did you know that in 2021, Island Growers Eco Caribbean established the first 100% eco and climate smart greenhouse system in Barbados?
Honorable Member, on what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I raise on a point of information. The member is not speaking very clearly. I was struggling a bit to hear the earlier point, so I would ask her to repeat.
She did preface her speech.
I apologize.
Yeah, she did preface her speech before.
Then could I at least ask she lean in, because we, the opposition, can't respond if we can't hear.
Can you kindly lean the microphone in further?
Like I was saying, the main 2 points that I would like to speak on today are harnessing agricultural innovation and enhancing food chain supplies. Did you know that in 2021, Island Growers Eco Caribbean established the first 100% climate smart greenhouse system in Barbados? Prior to this, there was an issue with greenhouses in Barbados because the greenhouses were less durable and susceptible to damage from hurricanes and natural disasters. However,
Recently, greenhouses have been made more durable, less susceptible to natural disasters, and for these reasons, greenhouse farming has become more popular. Since it has become a more popular practice here on our island to promote greenhouse farming, the government has made incentives and initiatives available to farmers for making it more accessible and affordable to get into greenhouse farming. This has been done through financial incentives and grants which were made by the government to adopt greenhouse farming. This not only shows support for our farmers, but it encourages them to adopt greenhouse farming and promote long-term food security for current and future generations. My second point involves strengthening the food supply chain.
Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
I raise on the point of order. The honorable member is.
Honorable member, I would like to caution you with respect to referencing your notes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Like I was saying, this can be achieved through collaboration between farmers and processors with their consumers and the persons who are purchasing the products. According to the FAO, a national agricultural policy.
Honorable member, on one point do you raise? Your microphone, please.
Ma'am, the member is still reading.
Once more, honorable member, I caution you with referencing your notes. Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I raise on a point of order. Had the Leader of Opposition been keenly listening, he would have made the observation that the honorable member was at the time making a quote.
You stand corrected. Honorable member, we'll grant you one more minute in addition to your allotted time.
Like I was saying, according to the National Agricultural Policy, which according to the FAO provides a plan to improve food security for current and future generations by introducing market information systems to strengthen marketing systems among farmers. The National Agricultural Policy also provides training and education to farmers and in fields such as agronomy, soil science, and agricultural economics. Furthermore, in the Central Bank's 2023 article on food security in the Caribbean, it had highlighted the importance of regional cooperation. By strengthening this among CARICOM member states and promoting knowledge sharing, we can increase the market access, support trade in agricultural products, and support our farmers by providing trading programs that benefit small-scale farmers. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, I firmly believe that this resolution provides a sustainable path for food security in the future. And by encouraging investing in agricultural innovation and strengthening our food systems, we will be better equipped to become food secure in the future. Thank you, Madam Speaker. To you, I oblige.
Honorable member, on what point do you raise? Microphone, please. Microphone, please. Microphone, please. Microphone. Unfortunately, honorable member, can you kindly repeat as your microphone was not in use?
Yes, ma'am. Unless the entire latter half of the member's speech was a quote, I'm not sure the member is following the standing orders of Parliament by reading the entire latter end of her speech, of the honourable member's speech. My apologies.
Honorable members of this honorable chamber, I caution you once more with reference to your notes, unless they will have to be entered into documentation within the honorable house. So we'll now move forward to the next honorable member. I now acknowledge the honorable member, Cyril Wiggins.
Madam Speaker, oh, sorry.
Hello.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House recess for 10 minutes.
Second.
The question is that the Honorable House be recessed for 15 minutes. All in favor say aye. Again? The ayes have it. This Honorable House will be recessed for 15 minutes.
Good morning. Good afternoon to honorable government members and honorable members of the opposition. I just thought that I would enter the chamber, given the fact that this is the Youth Parliament, and have a sit-in for just a couple of minutes, having just observed about 5 minutes from my chambers. I think it is a good thing that what you all are doing, and I hope that you continue to act in this way. There was just the former government member who was speaking. The former, I think is St. Juice or something. Could the former member rise, please? Honorable member for your honorable government member, correct? Right, honorable government member. Right, just saw that you were addressing the chamber, and you were making reference to your copious notes. And you were subject to a lot of interruption from the opposition side. Repeated raising on points of order as it relates to you, making reference and or reading from your notes, right? And the issue with reading from your notes, for example, there, that I believe it was said that you were reading from a note or something, ma'am? Was it a document? No. Were you reading from a document, ma'am? No, the reason for that, if you're referencing and or reading from a document, because it's all you reading from the document, from your notes, you would have to make you make reference to the document, and you make the document, you must make it then a document of the Honorable Chamber. So you're not prevented from reading from it, unless but you must make it a document of the House. So that if you make it a document of the House, you can reference it. And if you reference it, the opposition can raise on any point of order, because you will continuously raising on a point of order. So that is something very, very important, that you can read from a note, as long as the note is something that it is a document, or authentic document, and you wish to make that document a document of the House. You are so permitted then to read from it. So then if you cannot do that, then you will be violating the standing orders of the House. That is one. Two, I just came in, but the opposition members, you were allowing the honorable government member to read. But in things like this, what you do, you must rile the government member. You have to get under the government member's skin, so that it is important that you need to do it so that you should converse. Yes, not in a way that is not civil, but you should do things. When she started to speak, just do things to throw her off, so that she cannot speak and so eloquently without interruption. You have to mimic her and say, well, you know what we're talking about. But you do that among yourself, because the chair can intervene, or the chair can express parliamentary deafness, so that even though you're talking, I don't hear. Even though I hear, I express, we call it in law, we call it judicial deafness. That you're talking about, still in hearing. Because you cannot allow the government members to speak and as though they're talking with authority, because then you'll be a poor opposition. So you really got to rail her, and if you're raising on points, you can raise on your point of elucidation. You can ask that. So you need to define the point of order that you're raising on. You must define that order as per the standing orders. So this is a resolution, correct? It's a resolution to develop land. And it was brought obviously by government, and they would have outlined the proposal. In leading off, obviously, they would indicate the rationale behind it, etc. Right. And what it hopes to do as it relates to the country. Right. Having said that, did they outline specifically how it would benefit the country? And what was the rationale behind it? The paper was laid by government. Right. Were you all given adequate notice of it? How long was the notice given to you all? As per the standing orders? I just want compliance with the standing orders of the House. The standing orders of the House, if you're bringing a resolution, the adequate notice has to be served. Adequate notice has to be served. So you can't get up tonight, this morning, and send him a notice. So when was the notice sent when was the notice sent? 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Right. It was, and okay. The notice was published in the, you have the, can I see the order paper, please? I need to see the order paper. Can the marshal bring the order paper for me, please? Because you have to abide by the rules of the House. But if the order paper is in order, then there's problems in the House. And before the resolution, the adjournment for these specific standing orders was also complied with. Right. I'm just making sure that we are following the rules of this House. So that before the resolution was let off, the adjournment, the normal standard adjournment, as per the standing orders for other business, was also complied with. Who's the leader of government business in this chamber, please? Can the leader of government business stand, please? Right. So I'm just asking, was the standing orders complied with in order for for government business to commence in the House? You can tell me why there's nothing to be shy about.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Right. And so the requisite adjournment was asked for, and it was seconded. Before we get to government business, we would have gone through the entire process. That is correct. So you would have asked for adjournment for as per the standing orders. Right. Yes, you would have. All right. Are there any issues that you would wish to hear from me? I just came in to intervene to ensure that proper compliance with the standing orders of this honorable chamber were complied with. It is not in any way meant to detract from the debate that is going on. Are there any issues that you wish to raise that you might need clarity on that I can assist if I can? Honorable Leader of the Opposition?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to ask, in your opinion, if there were changes, whether slight or not, to a resolution the night before a debate, what, in your professional opinion, would be the requisite course of action for the opposition in that scenario?
Okay, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, if I am hearing you correct, it means that you were sent a specific resolution 3 weeks. Right. That is correct? Honorable, stand, you can stand. Running speaking. Right.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, that's correct.
Right. And this morning you were then given an amended resolution.
I would say last night I was notified of an amended resolution.
Right, and of the amended resolution, and what does the standing order say as respect to if there's a resolution and the notice period that is required? Were the amendments drastic and draconian and or significant that would cause anything to the structure of the debate?
I would say yes.
And could you outline the, Prime Minister, you can get a chance to speak. Right. Honorable Leader, can you outline the amendments that were sought, that you were given notice of only last night, that in your opinion make it significant, that would depart from the core, the crux and core of the resolution being debated?
I would not say it departs from the core, but I would say it is significant to the extent that it affected the speech and input to be given by the Leader of Opposition Business.
Could you, Honorable Government, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Speaker, I would just like to request that the honorable member outline specifically the differences that would have affected the debate substantially.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition, could you outline the amendments that were sought, that the amendments that you're saying that would have detracted from your capacity, the opposition capacity to debate in this honorable chamber, the same said resolution?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. So firstly, in the whereas clauses of the resolution, the, I believe, fourth whereas clause entirely was removed. If I...
The whereas clause entirely is?
Beg your pardon?
I think the clause?
One of the whereas clauses in the original resolution is
deleted?
nowhere to be found.
Okay, it's deleted? Yes, as one.
Let me get the specific one now.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition, having seen the amendment that you got last night, at any time prior to this debate commencing, did you have a conversation with the Leader of Government Business to sort clarification in relation to the amendment? Just prior, at any time before this debate commenced in this honorable chamber, did you bring it to the attention of the Leader of Government Business that there were concerns that the opposition had in relation to the resolution, sir?
No, sir, I was not given enough time, as I found out this morning.
This morning,
before the debate.
right? This morning, as in what time? Do you have the leader?
9 o'clock.
Do you have the Leader of Government Business telephone number, honorable Leader of Opposition?
No.
Just asking questions.
No, I don't.
Why not?
Why not?
Could you? So, are you saying that you could not have contacted any member on the government side prior to this debate commencing in relation to any concerns that you had that you wanted to raise, honorable Leader of the Opposition?
I would say any outcome that would have arrived from connection at that point in time would not have changed the fact that the debate was in an hour.
No. Honorable Leader of the when you said when you saw the change and or amendments, what time, sir?
Could you repeat that?
You said that you got notice of the amendments this morning, as in what specific time you saw the notice with the amendments, sir?
Right, that was 9:06.
And this parliament commenced at 10 o'clock, sir?
Yes, please.
Right. So between 10 after 9 and 9:59 a.m., you could not have contacted any member of the...
I did contact a government member, just not the Leader of Government Business.
But honorable member on government?
I just wanted to take note to you, Mr. Speaker, that the honorable member came and spoke to almost every single member of government this morning, correct? So he had ample opportunities to speak to the leadership or anyone here, but he seems to want to mislead
Honorable member,
the House.
one member speaking, please. Right, honorable member, you said that he expressed concern to members on the government side?
He did not express concerns to my knowledge, but he spoke to every member, even threatened, for lack of better words, that he's going to stand up on point orders for most of us. So he had time to make his jokes on this side and shake hands, but did not have to say, well, you see, this resolution got here saying change. So maybe his priorities were mixed up this morning, sir.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition, did you reply to after the Leader of Government Business moved the debate, and who moved the debate, you spoke at length on the debate, sir?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Did you speak on the debate as the Leader of the Opposition?
Yes, I did.
Did you raise that concern, honorable member?
of the amendments?
Yes, did you?
Changing the resolution? No.
Why not?
Because at that point, the debate had already started. I didn't see it fit to
Right, but,
bring it
okay,
up.
right. But as a good opposition leader, that is the time when you speak, that is the time to raise the concern. You know, I mean, I'm saying that you had issues with amendments to the resolution, correct? Right. You spoke in this honorable chamber on the resolution. In your speech, in delivering your speech, did you at any time indicate that the government you only got notice of this debate this morning at 9:06, and that is unfair and is unparliamentary, and that did you at any time speak to that issue?
Not during the debate,
But
no.
I remember then what I'm saying to you. That is the opportune time to speak of the misgivings of the government side. That when you deliver that speech that you talk about, you speak about it. That imagine they give you one resolution 3 weeks ago, and just 2 minutes before we come in here, all of a sudden they want to trust something upon you. That is what you use the House for. You use the opportunity of speaking to bring to the attention of the public what the government side is seeking to do and undermine the democratic principles. This is what you use the floor of the House for. I'm saying if that is what you do, this is what this chamber is. This chamber is a chamber that allows you to engage in meaningful civil debate, but use the opportunity to place lashes on the government side if you find them. This is what debating skills are all about. You bring it to attention that the government has something on the hand, etc. That is what you do. That out of the blue, you can bring a new resolution.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if
Yes.
I may, I have something of that like to say now, as the honourable member that just spoke is the very government member whom I would have asked about the resolution before the debate started, to which I asked him specifically about the amendments, and the honourable member told me he did not notice any differences. So I'm not sure what the honourable member means when he
Objection here, sir.
Objection.
All right. Honourable member, consider. Leader government, it appears that you want to say something, honourable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
The honorable member is primarily misleading the House.
Right.
The honorable member would have made a claim that actually, Mr. Speaker, in your presence, I don't know if I could make a document to you. I have the original resolution document as well as the amended resolution document. The honorable member on the opposition side claimed that the fourth whereas was removed. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the original document and the amended document, the whereas are the same and the number of whereas clauses are the same.
Okay, honorable leader government, even if he has said that, would that change the substance of the resolution?
No, Mr. Speaker.
I think that's the importance. If it doesn't in any way impact the substance of the resolution, because the standing orders permit that when you go into committee, that the amendments, then you can have the amendments, and you can have the amendments in committee. Right? Okay. I just thought I would come to have the opportunity to speak to you, and I think it's important that that you get an audience like this more than once or twice a year. I think also that it would be in your best interest to specify a date that you would wish to come to this chamber to see the entire House debating, which can assist you in honing your skills in relation to the rumble within the chamber at times when the debate becomes very heated and stuff. It can only but add to your repertoire and assist you in becoming good debaters. I hope that you see this as a learning exercise and that you will truly want to be in this position in reality, not only in the youth parliament, but that this would do something to evoke a lot within you that would strengthen you so you can see what really occurs in a parliament and the thorough things that have to be done in order to become astute in what you do, and that this allows you to get an opportunity, if you so desire, to really enhance democracy, understand what democracy entails, and it can only do well for all the countries who follow democratic principles. I thank you, and I hope you continue to revel in it, to see it, as I said, opportune for you to become parliamentarians to represent your countries, etc., because this is something that benefits the entire Caribbean. I hope you enjoy the remainder of the day. Thank you very much.
This session is now resumed. I now acknowledge the honorable member, Sarah Wiggins.
Madam Speaker, firstly, I would like to commend the government for bringing solutions to our food security issue. I would like to commend the government on that. As the opposition, my motto, our motto is, we are not here to degrade the government. We are not your enemy. We are not here to degrade. We are here to help upgrade, so everyone in this country can prosper as proud Barbadians within this society of this small island that we call home. Now, I must commend the resolution. The government has provided some solutions, but this resolution needs a few tweaks, and I will be mentioning 2 points from this resolution that I would like to expand on. First point, Section A of the resolution, increase investment in sustainable agriculture development. So government says they want to invest in climate resilient, organic, high-tech farming. Doesn't this sound beautiful? Well, this sounds sweet like a snow cone on a hot day. It sounds real sweet, I must admit. We still have potholes in our roads. How will we progress? How will this plan progress if we still have potholes in our roads? How will it progress? We still cannot afford grocery prices or even a full closet of clothes. These methods are costly and unrealistic for small farmers. So what is the solution? Since I'm talking all of this and it seems like land basing, the solution is we need to start supporting small farmers. I've been hearing all morning that small farmers are the backbone of this country. Am I not right? We have to provide them with farming tools, access to microloans. Because let's face the facts, we are a small country and we don't have much land either. We're not Guyana, we're not Jamaica, and so forth. We also need to provide them with training because majority of our small farmers are the aged population, might I add. So, how will this be done since I'm saying all of this? We need to have a 5-year plan where we meet specific goals through the 5-year period, and we need to set deadlines. I am not saying that in this 5-year plan we will achieve all of this, but let us start to get somewhere. Secondly, the government says they want to use digital tools and farming tech, especially in rural areas. Will this be accessible to the everyday farmer who has no Wi-Fi or no any sense of tech digital training? Might I add that greenhouses are expensive and complex to use? We can support community greenhouses so that multiple farmers can share. We can also provide them with training because, as I stated before, majority of our farmers are the aged population. They're not going to be They're not going to be tech savvy like the young people. And as my farmer members have been saying this morning, that the youth is not mentioned in this resolution. We are talking about Barbados National Youth Parliament, but we need to remember that the young people are not involved in agriculture. So we need to provide training for these aged populated farmers. So another thing, the Prime Minister had mentioned to technology, connecting technology into our greenhouse innovation and stuff like that.
Honorable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to wrap up soon. We can also provide them with training. I said that. Transport delivery systems, so tech connects the farms to actual markets, and we can also put this into another 5-year plan because I said we are a small country. We cannot progress. We could talk about this fancy resolution and provide ideas, but we need to remember that Barbados is small. We still have other issues. We still have potholes. We still have a lot of things that we're dealing with, and that is why we need 5-year plans. We need a strategic outlook and set deadlines, because at the end of the day, 5 years from now, we're still not going to get to this. Let's be realistic. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and with that, I oblige.
Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
I raise on a point of order, Madam Speaker. So I was listening closely and intently to what the opposition member had to say. And I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt that what she said was going to lead in or be backed by some research. However, throughout that 5-minute period, I don't recall one piece of research being mentioned. And with the general knowledge that she does have, while it may be relevant, it is also of equal importance that it be backed with factual research. So for the past 5 minutes, all that was said is opinion-based. And I just want that to be noted.
Well, we could sit down here and talk about statistics, right? We could talk about numbers, but if you sit down all day and you talk about numbers and where you got research from, at least I provided solutions, did I not? And might I add, I did do my research. So thank you for that.
Honorable member. Honorable member, I caution you that you await acknowledgement before you begin speaking. Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I'm not sure the point of order, I rise on a point of order, Madam Speaker. I'm not sure the Prime Minister is familiar with the standing orders of Parliament. Not only did the Prime Minister refer to the honourable member as she, but the Prime Minister also did not clearly outline what point of order the Prime Minister was actually rising on. The Prime Minister just said, I'm rising on a point of order, and then started speaking. Was the honourable member misleading the House? What was the honourable member doing?
Sorry. Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order. The honourable member was misleading the House. To provide solutions not based on opinion and not based on fact is inherently misleading. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member Sarah, would you like to respond?
As I stated, I can sit down here and state facts, state statistics, but at the end of the day, statistics is not the only solution. Statistic provides you with information to strengthen your points, but at the end of the day, it's solutions and our minds coming together as members that actually solves things within Barbados. Let's just make that thing clear.
Honorable member, on what point do you raise?
I always stand on a point of elucidation. I wish to clarify what I would have mentioned earlier. When I spoke, it was from an area of sincerity, because even though we have our own opinions, when we do check the statistics, then we find out if it's actually the truth, because inherently we are biased. So the statistics alone aren't necessarily going to make the argument, but they do help build the foundation of the argument. And the honorable member's lack of research shows the strength of her argument. That's all I wish to say.
Honorable member, would you like to retract any statements?
As I said, I'm standing with my opinion. Thank you for your feedback.
I would now like to acknowledge the honorable member, Faith Babb.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let us not pretend that the existing food systems in this country are working. We are importing what we could grow, we are discarding what we could preserve, and barely recognizing the very farmers that feed us. This resolution is not random, Madam Speaker, but urgent, necessary. It is long overdue. I would like to shed light on E of the whereas section of this resolution, cited from the Food and Agriculture Organization's Climate Smart Agriculture Toolkit. According to the FAO, investing in climate-resilient farming methods and supporting agroecology and organic farming can enhance domestic production, reduce reliance on imports, and contribute to environmental conservation. Currently, the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, and Nutritional Security is actively making that transformation happen. From soil health management and water conservation to drip irrigation and rainwater harvesting, they are introducing practices that are smarter, more sustainable, and future-focused. But it doesn't stop there. The ministry is also integrating technology into farming, such as indoor vertical farming and aeroponic towers, which are space-efficient, environmentally friendly, and have limitless crop production year-round. These solutions have been deemed effective for improving soil fertility, boosting the quality of produce, and even providing our farmers with more economic benefits. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization, the ministry has launched a digitization project that has already provided tangible and positive results. Across parishes like St. Michael, St. Andrew, St. Lucie, and St. John, small farmers are benefiting through the strategic use of drone imagery and soil seamers. According to the ministry themselves, according to the FAO, this initiative was designed, and I quote, to optimize risk management and agricultural production, which can potentially help us become more self-sufficient. This is more than just an agricultural issue, as one of the honorable members on the government side would have mentioned. This is also a human issue. For example, many families are going to bed at night without food. Students are finding it hard to concentrate in school due to the lack of proper meals and nutrition. Farmers cannot afford to plant their next crop or maintain their livestock. This is where policy should step in. This is where policy should step in. Food is not a luxury or a privilege, Madam Speaker. It is a basic right, and this government recognizes that. This is more than just a local crisis. Our CARICOM neighbors are also battling with rising food prices, climate impact, and declining production. However, Barbados can take a leading role in showing what is possible as a small island developing state. This is about more than just today's hunger, Madam Speaker. It's also about tomorrow's security.
As part of national effort, the government has also launched digital platforms, such as the Barbados Agricultural Marketplace and Information Systems, which have given farmers access to real-time markets and buyers. No longer are farmers isolated from their consumers. Additionally, they have teamed up with Agri-V to launch through the Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketplace Corporation to launch the Artificial Intelligence Agronomic Advisor, a 24/7 virtual expert that delivers crop advice, pest solutions, and soil guidance.
Honorable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through WhatsApp. This empowers even our smallest farmers with the knowledge to grow smarter, not harder. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, we are acting through bold policy, climate-smart innovations, and community-driven solutions to secure the future of food in this nation. From helping farmers through the use of technology to reducing our reliance on costly imports, we are laying the foundation for a more resilient and self-sufficient Barbados. Because at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, a government that cannot feed its people is a government that has failed. This government refuses to fail. And with that, Madam Speaker, I am obliged to you.
I would like to now acknowledge the next honorable member on the opposition side.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker. To start off my contribution to this debate, truth be told, if I could, I would burn this because this is like a snow cone. It's sweet, but it has no nutritional value. And if you're talking about food security, I think we need to make sure that we're solution-oriented, not just statistic-oriented, and provide real solutions to the Barbadian public. This resolution looks pretty. It talks about the definition of food security by the World Food Summit, and it goes on and on. It talks about the gross domestic product. All these things are relevant towards what the foundation of the argument of food security is in Barbados. But when you get to the be it resolved, fluff, and more fluff. Increased investment in sustainable agricultural development, but increase what investment? Are we going to invest financially? Are we going to invest in capital? Are we going to provide the farmers with more technology? What is the plan? But no, this government does what it always does. It just uses big words and thinks that's going to be the solution to Barbados' problems. The truth is that food security is very much so in a package with a lot of other issues that Barbados faces. When you look at things such as cost of living, the issue of devaluation, all of it is connected. I truthfully think this is a more economic conversation than anything else. The reality is that, as the honorable member would have noted earlier, is that Barbados imports around $800 million Bajan dollars in food. And obviously, we cannot pay for that food using Barbadian dollars. We have to do that using United States currency, which is the global reserve currency. And the reason why it ties back to the devaluation issues is because we know that Barbados previously has had issues when it came to maintaining the peg. And if we continue to unsustainably import food, because the truth is that, as one of the honorable members said earlier, he does not want to eat green bananas for the rest of his life. But if we continue with that mindset in Barbados, we're going to continuously put ourselves in this position. And then when we talk about debt and things like that, the fact that government continuously has to be borrowing US dollars in order to ensure that we do not find ourselves in a situation where we default on our debt and Barbadians cannot be paid, and that we can no longer import food. If we want to move away from that situation, it means that we might have to change our palettes as Barbadians as well. But this government may very well be a populist government. They just want to say what the people want to hear. The truth is that Barbadians do have to be educated about the opportunities which exist in Barbados for them to cultivate food and for them to encourage it as well. And although those foods may not be the waffles and pancakes which we so love, we have to look at what is sustainable for the future of Barbados. Now, I spoke about investments just now. I don't see anything in this about any sort of tax relief, any sort of utility relief for the farmers. So once again, this government is trying to tell people, do this, do that. We are encouraged to do this, we are encouraged to do that, but you're not really providing them with any support other than words. If people want it, if farmers of Barbados wanted verbal support, I'm sure they will find themselves a therapist. And the way that this government is going, they very well will need one when they have to deal with the economic fallout that is inevitable at the hands of this government's mismanagement. Madam Speaker, sorry, a lot I have heard this morning from the government. Like I've said, this resolution looks good in the foundation of it all, but it provides no meaningful resolution. And I mean, this is a resolution. This is a resolution, and nothing here is being resolved. So I really will advise this government to go back to the drawing board, have some consultations with the stakeholders, and don't just say that you did, and perhaps bring this back, because even if it passes this chamber today, I really think it's dead in the Senate. I'll be very frank with you. This has no substance. And anybody that cares about Barbados will know that we have to do better. I know that we can do better. I know that if we are to work with the persons who really care about this, and I heard somebody speaking earlier about young people, the truth is that
Honourable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, ma'am. The truth is that young people are interested in agriculture, but once again, the government is providing them no meaningful opportunity to be involved. So, I mean, they can only go so far. So, once again, and to conclude, Madam Speaker, I'm encouraging the government to, truth be told, just bring something better. This is nonsense. I said it's a snow cone. It has no nutritional value. It tastes sweet. You know, it come off your tongue good today. The Prime Minister had fun bringing all these different statistics, so the leader of government business. But once again, nothing is substance. Nothing is going to change. This is just going to be added to the Gazette, and Barbados will continue to live as normal, and nothing will change. And, you know, the truth is that it's unfortunate, because you would think that the government really would care. And this is the second, hold on, how many times have I come in here and spoken about the fact that the other side doesn't care? The third time now? And nothing is changing. I really do implore you to do better. And with that, Madam Speaker, I am obliged to you. Right, what is the opposition? No one in government, I want to still ain't doing it better.
Honourable members. Honourable member, I now acknowledge the Honourable member Zaria Sanford.
Madam Speaker, we are here today to address a crisis that often hides in plain sight: food insecurity. It refers to the lack of reliable access to affordable, nutritious food when individuals or families aren't sure where their next meal is coming from, not because of choice, but because of circumstance. That is the issue at hand. Now, Madam Speaker, I would like us all to imagine something. There's a global conflict. Ports are blocked, flights are grounded, supply chains in shambles. You're a young child in Barbados. You turn to your mother and say, "Mommy, I want some fast food." She sighs, looks at you and says, "It's closed." However, she hands you a plate and says, "This is fast food at home." You take a bite. It's good, real good. So you ask her,
Honourable
"Mommy,
member, on
what's
what
this?"
point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order. The honourable member is reading.
Honourable member, proceed.
Okay, thank you. You take a bite and you tell her, "It's really good, Mommy. What's this?" So she replies, "It's big grain rice," which is yam or sweet potato. My point, Madam Speaker, is that when the world shuts down, when imports stop, we are left with our own capacity to feed ourselves. And if we haven't built that up now, we'll be regretting it in the future. For those of us who think the strategies in the resolution are too ambitious, allow me to introduce Guyana, a CARICOM country feeding its people. Out of 186 countries in the world, Guyana is the only one that is fully self-sufficient in food production. Why? Because they made agriculture a priority with various strategies. They removed VAT on agricultural equipment, focused on crops, livestock, and fisheries.
Honourable member, on what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order. The honourable members on the government side have already been cautioned against reading on multiple occasions now. At some point, I feel there needs to be some action taken against the members breaking the standing orders of Parliament and reading out their speeches.
Honourable member, I do caution you with reference to your speech. Otherwise, you'll have to submit it.
Okay. They also launched youth agricultural entrepreneurship programs and gave farmers tools, not just tasks. Since 2020, Guyana has become completely self-sufficient in their and increased their agricultural investments. While they're able to sustain themselves, we're still reliant on imports, heavily reliant on imports, to the fact where we're heavily dependent on them. We have the land, we have the people, we also have the will. Madam Speaker, one thing I will commend this resolution on is that it doesn't treat agriculture as though it's in a vacuum. It connects it to tourism, health, education, and trade, all areas that matter. The resolution urges us to invest in resilient farming and organic practices.
Honourable Member, at what point do you raise?
I would like to request that the honourable member's document be made a document of the House as well as shared to the other members of the opposition side.
Honourable Member, would you like to submit your document?
I do not have a printed version of it, so how would I be sharing it?
Yes, please.
We would take the iPad. Yeah.
Pardon?
The document can be shared after this speech.
Thank you. The resolution urges us to invest in climate-resilient farming and organic practices. Barbados has already started exploring hydroponics and greenhouse technology, but we need to fund real-scale adoption. If Guyana can go from subsidy to self-sufficiency in less than 5 years, what's stopping us? Madam Speaker, during crises, we turn to CARICOM, our regional allies who are our strongest line of support. The CARICOM 2025 by 2025 +5 initiative focuses on reducing member states' food import by 25% by 2030.
Honourable Member, which Honourable Member am I recognizing? Honourable Member Rashana?
Madam Speaker, are we having a literacy class? Are we here to debate food security? And might I add, we are here not to be like this and reading.
Madam
We are
Speaker.
here to use our voice,
Madam Speaker.
to use our heart.
Honourable Member, at what point do you raise?
The honourable member, I raise a point of order. The honourable member is breaking the standing order. She's making a second speech. She just stand and started speaking.
Honourable Member, I caution you to be brief in your rebuttal, please. Honourable Member. Yes, please. Kindly be brief. Of course. After we've allowed her to finish her speech, she will kindly submit it to the Barbados National Youth Parliament Committee, which will then be shared to the members of opposition. Does that suffice?
Madam Speaker, yes, I acknowledge the fact that I am reading. We can all hear my voice. And I will continue because it will be made a document of the House.
Honourable Member, you have 2 minutes remaining.
Yes, ma'am. Here's where it gets complicated. Barbados introduced a sugar tax and recently announced intentions to tax salty foods as well. The aim to make unhealthy foods more expensive so we eat healthier. But Madam Speaker, here's the issue. If we're pushing junk food further out of reach, what are we pulling closer in? Processed food is cheap because it's made in factories, mass-produced, and not seasonally planted. Crops don't work like that. They grow in cycles tied to soil, weather, and time. Farmers rotate crops to protect the land, they depend on rainfall, and they can't flip a switch to grow more. So if we really want healthy food to be affordable, we have to invest in making it accessible by protecting
Honourable Member, at
agricultural
what point
land
do you raise?
Yes, Madam Speaker. I rise on a point of order. I can't support, Madam Speaker, the procedure of having the document be made a document of the House after her speech, because via the standing orders of Parliament, the honourable member, right, via the standing orders of Parliament, until it is made a document of the House, the honourable member cannot copiously reference the speech. So by allowing her to continue her speech, you are allowing a continuous violation of the standing orders of Parliament. So I would ask that the member, if the honourable member is unable to continue the speech without reading, I would ask that the honourable member be disallowed from continuing her speech.
Honourable Member, at what point point do you raise?
I rise on a point of information from you, Madam Chair. Last time I checked, the rules of this House is that you are the governing body, and what you have ruled has been ruled. So why is the opposition continuing to get up to disrupt my honourable member on this side?
Thank you very much, honourable members. I would implore the honourable member to conclude without copiously referencing her notes. And please make sure that that document be made provided as soon as possible. But honourable member Janae?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order. I would just like to call your attention to the persistent unparliamentary interruptions on the part of the opposition. And I would just like to request that you keep them in order. Thank you.
Honourable member, as I would have mentioned, you have 1 minute to conclude.
Thank you. We cannot tax people into eating better. We also have to make better food available and affordable. This resolution is about replanting national pride, getting young people to say, I run a food business, I can grow my own crops, and my country feeds me. Madam Speaker, this resolution is also about changing the mindsets of the people. Our island is becoming self-sufficient, and through this resolution, we will also regain our national sovereignty and not be heavily dependent on food imports. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I now acknowledge the honourable member, Jolie Incarnation. Sorry, my apologies.
Thank you. To begin, I want to start by reiterating what my other honourable members on the government side has said, that food security is an important and vital issue in Barbados. According to the Food and Agricultural Organization, Barbados imports roughly 80% of its food. That's 80% too much. And to invest in our youth and modern agricultural we need solutions to invest in our future. The previous honourable member from the opposition side has stated that young persons are not involved and there are no actual government policies that involve young persons.
Honourable member, on what point do you raise?
I would like to raise on a point of order. I must also would like to ask, is the government side ready? Because I see persons this close and I'm a bit confused, but could you please, I can't be on, it really bothers my heart that I know we really would love, Madam Speaker, if
Acknowledge,
you could caution
honourable
them
member.
from speaking.
Honourable member, I would like to caution your reference to your notes.
As I was saying, the honourable member on the opposition side clearly stated that young persons don't have a place in learning about agriculture. However, there is an initiative by the Project Dawn, which is a collaboration with the Ministry of Youth, and it also helps young persons in Barbados who don't have education and teach them about agriculture. In addition, Barbados has also begun to invest in sustainable farming technologies, where in March of 2025, they invested $200,000, which was invested into vertical farming methods. The benefits of these have clearly been seen as they save storage in our island, as well as water.
Honourable member, at what point do you raise?
That's not what I would have stated. I was speaking in reference to the resolution, so I just thought that should be clarified.
Honourable member, do you wish to retract your statement?
I think that it should just be stated, not directly speaking to the honorable member. Continuing, the government has also invested into tissue culture farming, where we have seen the tissue culture lab being developed in Curtin St. Philip. That shows that we have an interest in developing sustainable farming methods in the island. And it also shows our support to food security and battling it. While building resilience at home in Barbados is vital, we also need to look to regional efforts, such as the agreement between Barbados and Suriname, which was signed in August of 2022. On this agreement,
Honorable member, on what point do you raise? And might I preface this? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I rise on a point of order. Now, the opposition was promised, even after fighting, was promised a document to be made a document of the House and delivered to the opposition from the last speaker the moment that speaker finished speaking. But no document has been made a document of the House after the opposition was promised.
Honorable member, at what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order. The Leader of Opposition is grossly misleading the House. Not to misquote you, Madam Speaker, but I remember you saying that the document would be made a document of the House after the speech, not the moment after. And I think for the honorable member to disrupt the member of the government side speech, to focus on semantics which are not even accurate, it's quite unfortunate.
At what point do you raise?
I rise on a point of order, ma'am. The honourable member is grossly misleading the House, as by your direct word, you said as soon as possible after the member was finished her speech. Maybe not immediately like the member said, but as soon as possible surely would mean we would have it by now, in my opinion.
Honorable House, I caution you, because we would love to let each and every person have a chance to relay their speech. So as a result, we will grant the Honorable Jolie 3 extra minutes to allow her to continue or to conclude her speech. And then we will address the issue of the document.
Use 235 acres of land, arable land, for crop production. This arrangement allows Barbadian farmers to plant their crops and contribute to our food security. It also allows us to raise livestock and expand our food supply. Beyond this, the agreement fosters joint agricultural ventures and knowledge sharing, where both countries would share the knowledge between them. It supports a smoother flow of goods between our two nations and reduces our dependence on distant and predictable import routes. The partnership is a reflection of what regional unity can accomplish. It gives us the opportunity to increase food availability, stabilize prices, and ultimately secure a more self-reliant future for Barbados and the wider Caribbean. When we invest in the youth and innovation, we invest in a future where no Barbadian is left hungry. Thank you. I oblige.
Honorable member, at what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order. The honorable member was copiously referring to their notes, and I request that the honorable member's speech be made a document of the House as soon as possible.
Firstly, I'd like to address the initial document that was referenced previously. Can the Leader of Opposition Government Business confirm that the document was submitted to the Barbados National Youth Parliament Committee, as well as Ms. Jolie? Would you be willing to submit your document as part of this House?
Yes, please.
Okay, so can you also follow up to ensure that the document is submitted to the committee, and then it would be at the committee to relay that information to the opposition? So then there'll be no more interruptions on this document or the next document, as it would be at the committee. So I now acknowledge the Honorable Member, Nathaniel Knight.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, I am very disheartened. I am very appalled at the fact of the matter that by the grace of God, we have been given an opportunity to stand here in these honorable chambers and discuss agriculture, but apparently we just come in here to stop persons from getting through their speech and actually doing something that can help this country. Madam Speaker, I would like to say to us today, let us take this with all seriousness.
Honorable Member, on what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order. The honourable member is grossly misleading. Sit, please. Thank you. The honourable member is grossly misleading the House. At no point did any opposition member ask specifically in initiating the points of order for a member to stop speaking. We just asked that the member follow the rules and continue their speech without reading. The only time a member was asked to stop was when they were incapable of doing so.
No point found, unfortunately. He did mention that the opposition was interrupting. Honorable Member, you may continue.
Madam Speaker, I would just like to say that it seems as though since the opposition got a pep talk, all of a sudden they are able to keep standing and standing. But I can stand here on agriculture and I can focus on that. I won't mind persons that clearly are not about the betterment of my proud Barbados that I live in. Madam Speaker, I will just simply for my latter time go through what my predecessors on the government side would have stated. We would have stated about food security. We would have stated of the 2% GDP of the forest industry. We would have stated waste of food. We would have stated climate change. We would have stated that a holistic view needs to be looked at when it comes to agriculture. We would have stated food security needs to be a norm. Also, use of technology. Furthermore, priority of fresh local food. Food is a right. Madam Speaker, I had a whole speech plan. I had different facts that I want to state, but due to the ignorance of the opposition, I don't even feel the need to state that. I stand here on this resolution because we have to understand, Madam Speaker, that let me give an example for the opposition, right? When you're building a house, you got to start with a foundation. This resolution is the foundation for better agriculture in the country of Barbados. If we don't have a foundation, we can't just afford to just build the house. No, you need a foundation, Madam Speaker. That's why I stand with the government side on this resolution that states increase, harness agriculture innovation, strengthen policies, enhance food supply chains, strengthen ongoing regional and international cooperations, safeguarding agricultural land and promoting local consumption. Madam Speaker, there are many places and land that can be used for agriculture in this country. There is even an investment of $2 million being put forth to help the agriculture in this country. So when the opposition have the audacity and the goal to stand in these honorable chambers to talk about how it's just fluff and different things, I am disheartened, Madam Speaker, because this resolution is the key to carrying us further in the agriculture sector. And when one of the members of the opposition would have stated how we are trying to be dependent, no, it's not about dependency. CARICOM is going in the same vein as they are also trying to carry down their food import bill. So we are standing with our brothers and sisters and helping each other achieve that goal in this generation, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member, on what point do you raise?
Madam Speaker, I raise on a point of information. The honourable member has been mentioned of trying to reduce our import bill, but according to Observatory of Economic Complexity, Barbados exports in 2023 were valued at US $429 million, and imports at US $2.5 billion. Additionally, our imports in 2024, according to Trading Economics, backed by the United Nations Comtrade database on international trade, our imports in 2024 were valued at US $2.16 billion. Has this government no shame?
Madam Speaker, it seems to me that today is the song to say get up and stand up, but not for Jesus, just get up and stand up because, Madam Speaker, we at the region have to get down our import bill. We know this. The honorable member would have even get up and alluded to this, but the fact of the matter is we have, what I am trying to bring over, we have to start somewhere, sir. We have to start somewhere. How do you build a house? You can just get the word, put this here, put that there, put the roof here, my house. No, you have to have a foundation. This is the foundation, and along the way, different changes can be made to help our country. But
Honorable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
No problem, Madam Speaker. I can land the plane now. If we just stand up here and pick at everything, nothing will start. Nothing for nothing equals nothing. We have to understand that for the next generation, we have to give them something to work with. Or do we plan to just give them brimstone and ashes and tell them, hold the broom, sweep that way and start from scratch? No, we have to start from somewhere. So as I stand with my government, we stand with this resolution to be passed because this is the way forward for agriculture in this country, Barbados. And with that, I am obliged to you.
I now acknowledge the Honorable Member Josiah Roberts.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, good afternoon. Give a man a fish and he eats for a day, but teach a man how to fish and he feeds an entire nation. Food security depends on food sovereignty. This is a matter that the government has had a firm stance upon from the beginning, so much so that our echoes reflect the phrase, eat what you grow and grow what you eat. Madam Speaker, if the question is the government doing enough to ensure food security, then the only possible answer could be yes. Like with the development of the feed program, a program which was built and made to combat hunger and food insecurity. This also allows us to strengthen our ties to food security by increasing local food production and reducing our reliance upon imports. Over 2,000 new farmers are being trained in this program, along with $2 million already being invested to use idle crop land that is just sitting there to make things like sweet potatoes and cassava, things that as a collective this entire country was eaten at one point. In partnership with the FAO, we are embracing climate smart technologies like greenhouses and drones that will modernize our agricultural practices. We must remember that as we build for the future, we must also protect it. Investing in hurricane resilient greenhouses that are built with durable steel frames and shatterproof materials so that these structures can withstand the climate challenges that are affecting our dear island almost yearly. To support this transformation, the government has even introduced new water systems and reservoirs and irrigation systems to improve water access to farmers. Additionally, the launch of the Barmis, sorry if I made a mistake with the name, digital platform allows local farmers to directly connect with buyers. This helps strengthen our internal markets and promote economic growth right here in Barbados. As a small island developing state, Barbados values regional unity. Through CARICOM and agreements like the St. Barnabas Accord, we're helping build a strong Caribbean food shield that ensures no nation is left behind when it comes to food security. We must remember, we are not just talking about food, we are talking about national survival. In a country where 80% of our food and crops are imported, the vulnerability is absolutely clear. The opposition may call these plans that we have ambitious, and I give it to you, they are. But this just shows how much this government cares for our now and our children's futures.
Honorable member, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm about to wrap up. Because we are not here to tiptoe around flames. We are here to put out the fire. Agriculture contributes just 1.85% to the national GDP. That is not a weakness. This is a warning. Government isn't just responding with talk. We are responding with absolute action. At the end of the day, food security is not just about crops. It's about our dignity and our independence. That is why we should stand in agreement with this resolution. And with that, Madam Speaker, I am obliged.
I now acknowledge the Leader of Government Business, Janine Herbert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would have risen at the beginning of the debate with a wealth of historical and present information, but I rise once again to discuss a way forward. This resolution was formulated with the understanding that securing food is synonymous with securing our future, and supporting our farmers synonymous with supporting our families. That our stomachs draw the line between survival and success, Madam Speaker, and that we cannot expect to make millionaires from a malnourished population. What is still required is our investment. And investment decisions are based simply on risk and reward. Madam Speaker, the risk of this investment, perhaps fiscal underperformance, but the risks of a lack of action are fiscal, financial, and physical. And it disheartens me, Madam Speaker, that the honorable members on the other side would rise and discredit the value of statistics, and in the same breath claim that the resolution lacks substance, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, last time I checked, it was statistics that are required to substantiate any claim. Further, I would have listened in grievance, Madam Speaker, to the members of the other side stating that this resolution does not speak to the youth. But Section C of the resolution calls for a cross-sectional approach, making calls to the ministries, including the Ministry of Education, which is a direct channel to the youth. Madam Speaker, in fact, I bore witness to the fact that in this present day, there is a greenhouse currently under construction at a secondary school in St. John. This government is not writing this because we were just sitting down and had something in our minds, Madam Speaker. We have already acted, and this resolution is geared toward further action. Nonetheless, Madam Speaker, I implore the opposition to vote in favor of this resolution because it is rooted in sustainability and geared towards success, Madam Speaker. But the risk of a lack of action, Madam Speaker, will leave us struggling to survive. And it's with that said, Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution be passed in the Honorable House.
Second.
The question is that this resolution do pass in this honorable house. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor say, all against say no. I believe that the ayes have it. I now acknowledge the honorable member of the opposition, Terence Richards.
All right, thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to thank our judges. I would like to thank the Youth Parliament Committee, our member in the benches, and our honorable sides of Youth Parliament. I would like to thank our clerks, as well as our speaker once more. I would like to personally thank our opposition for the work that I have seen them personally put in through helping them prepare for this debate and them helping me prepare for this debate. I would like to thank the government for providing us with a resolution to tear apart and for the Bible lesson and bedtime stories. Thank you.
Beg to move that this honorable house be adjourned until further notice.
The question is that this honorable house be adjourned until the next debate. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say no. I believe that the ayes have it. The honorable house stands adjourned until the next debate.